I hope I got this working. Hopefully I got OBS working. Okay, so I was just gonna show on how I get the synth into VRChat, at least the setup process all the way to there. This is the version I'm using for Unity. All the files are here, and this is the Unity package, and also the Substance Painter file. If anybody uses Substance Painter, and this is the shader, and this is the SDK. And how I usually go, I open this up, which is the Unity package. Start something new. I'm just gonna name it test. It's gonna take a while. Alright. Now when it opens up, it gives all this. This is all the stuff here, the synth, the mesh, the textures, everything. This is the shader, which is it's gonna show an issue, which somebody just showed me that happens with this, and this is dynamic bones. At least it says the dynamic bones, but you're gonna need to actually get yourself the dynamic bones if you want the tail to actually have physics added to it. But I'll also show where I put it. Alright, when it opens up, here's the folder. It's gonna look, well, it's gonna look weird like that. Don't need animations. Let me just take that off. And then once that's there, it's gonna just look just invisible, which is the reason because there's the shader is, even though it says it's gonna be putting in the shaders, I guess it's kind of like giving like a reference for the shaders, but it's not actually the shader, so it's there but it's not there. So to fix that issue, all you do is you basically install this, which is found over here, which I think there is a link that I put on the Gumroad page for this. It's a free shader. I use this because I'm using the metalness PBR workflow. I don't really like I don't like the cartoony look or the toon shader or I forgot what the other one, the Poyomi shader that much. Just hurts my eyes personally. But if you want to use that, good luck on using that one. I don't use it. Basically, select it all, import. And if it works, there we go. It's all there. The eyes are there. The root, basically the whole rig in here. We got the whole package here. I do not have the SDK, so that's the next thing I do. Select it all. Alright, it's in. Then I go to avatar descriptor while also selecting this, nothing in there, this first. Avatar descriptor. For lip sync, I turn that on. And then I go to Visine blend. And sometimes, and I'll show it if it does or it does not, I select synth. Sometimes it doesn't fill this and you'll have to do it manually, but as long as you select Visine blend shape and this, which is in here, which is the name of the package as well, it should occupy it. If it doesn't, then you have to do it manually. So that's the Visines in there. For the eyes, it's the same thing. Go to blend shapes, and I usually select this to then put it in. Sometimes it works better. So yeah, sometimes, I don't know why, there are moments that if I drag it from here to here, it works, and there are other moments where if I select here, there's also a chance it doesn't work. It's really weird. Sometimes one works, sometimes it doesn't. So one works or one doesn't work, try the other one. but it should work. Yep. I click this, then I just move this around. This is where the camera's gonna be. And that's basically it for setting up the avatar descriptor. For the bones, or the dynamic bones, I usually select not the first bone of the tail, because then I'll just end up kind of like wiggling this part out of place. I end up selecting the next one down. Let's see if it's in here. Dynamic bone. Yep. Dynamic bone is here. And then I select this, put it in here. Sometimes these settings you have to just play around with a bit, but what you can do is turn this on. Go to scene and just see if it works. It works, but it's going kind of crazy. 135, 0.2, 0.15. Sometimes you just play around with the settings. I think that's good enough for now. But it's before you click the play this button again. Copy components, because as soon as you stop this, it goes right back. But if you copied it, put component values, there we go. Now it should stay there. And now you have the bones on the tail. One little thing that's going to be changed, but I'm just going to show if the issue does occur. If I go back in here and I go to rig, as soon as it opens, there we go. Go to configure, I'm just going to press save. It's just to get rid of this jaw, because apparently if I have that and you add the visemes, I guess they kind of fight each other, and the jaw just stays open, but it just stays open in the preview, and sometimes in the actual when you're using the character, but usually in the preview it'll just stay open. So it's kind of like always has its mouth open, but take that off, and it should fix the issue. And that's basically everything right there. Now, just to show it working, let me just open up sign in, verify, because of course. All right. Automatic light maps. For this one, just click generate. Close it. There we go. Everything's there. And just click build and test. Alright. Now it should be in there. I'm just going to open up Vrchat. Let's see, which one? Oops, wrong one. Which one is it? Which one is it? I think it's you. Looks like it. And there we go. Well, and there we go. Everything is in place. Tail moves. The mouth moves. The eyes should blink. Give it a second. There we go. Okay, the eye does blink. Eyes. And yeah. Alright. So now I show you on how I go about texture painting. I use Substance Painter. I prefer to use this one over whatever other one there is. I think there is Marmoset, and I don't know how many people use that one, or at least for stuff for VR chat. Or I think most people end up using, I don't know, GIMP, Photoshop, or whatever they use for texturing these things, but I prefer to not do that because I don't want to suffer by doing that. This is basically, this makes it much easier. It's basically Photoshop for 3D. In fact, I think Photoshop or Adobe bought these guys, so I don't know if they're included in the package or not. I got the perpetual license before that, so I'm just gonna show you on everything. Right now the eyes aren't showing, so to fix that, at least on how I go about fixing it, I go to this little thing, PBR Metal Rough with alpha blending, and it still won't show, but it's okay. And then I go into here, and then I go here, and then I go to opacity, and it still won't show, but it is fine. I go to the glass layer, I go to glass, go into here, and then I just turn the opacity down, and then there we go, the eyes are showing. So that's basically how I have it all set up, or at least how I go at it. I'll don't know if it changes. I could have swore I saved it for this to go, but maybe it goes back to default. But if it does it again, you'll know how to do it. Now I'm just going to show you on how, like, say if you make a change to the mesh and you want to make changes physically, I'm going to show you how you bring those in to use. So let's go to Blender. This is the file that comes in the package. Let me just hide that camera. This is the rig. So there it is. But you won't be using this one, or at least 95% of it, because this is basically just from the, well, this is the same thing, but this is a duplicate that's been weighted. You use this one, which comes inside, called for baking, and there's a high and low. Right now low is enabled, but the tail is not. This is the tail, that's why, like, so to fix that, just go to rest position, and you should be fine. Turn it off, it'll still be there. And now, if you're still gonna make it, like, this is still not the one you're gonna use to make changes, or if you're gonna do poly modeling or physically making changes to the mesh, it's there. You could do it. I prefer to do sculpting, and I do have that one, or at least a sculpted mesh, which is the high one. And there we go. You could tell it's a sculpted one, at least the body is. I did this basically, I topologized it and then subdivided it. So this is the high, but this was the low that was created from the sculpt, but I just did it this way, but it'll still be fine if you're going to do sculpting. So right now, that's what it looks like. So you're basically going to be taking, for baking, you're going to be taking this and putting it onto the low. And then I'll just show you on how I export it. But there's one little thing also. Everything here has the suffix underscore high, and all of these except for one has the suffix underscore low, except for this one. I'll show you what that's going to be used for. So right now I'm just going to show you how I export it. I select everything. Also, if these like have a different material besides this one, you just select whatever. Select this, select that, or select anything, and then select this, and then apply the materials, and everything will have the same material. This way you won't have multiple of these. Like, it'll probably, if you have multiple, it'll probably say the name of the material and then whatever part it has, and then those will be separate. And then if you go about exporting it, you'll have even more. So I use this just to keep everything as one. That way lessen the amount of textures used. So just keep that in mind unless you want that. So I select everything. Let's go over here, select this. Well, this file export FBX. I already did it, but I'm gonna do it again. The high should still be fine because I did it, and that takes too long, but now let's just show you. I goes new, 2048, but this doesn't matter, and I'll show you that, or at least it kind of doesn't matter. GL, select below, press OK, discard, there we go. See, and if there is something here that you're wondering what it is, you just hide whatever and have the other ones showing to figure out what part it is, so you can make a change back in Blender. So there we go. And if we go into display settings, I shall show you. There's the wireframe. This is definitely the low. I'll just keep that on, but I'll keep it on subtle. So now on how to, and say if you made your changes to whatever. Oh, one thing I almost forgot. At least the method and how you go about it. If you're going to poly modeling way, then that's one way. But like say you make a duplicate. At least in how I go about it is I make a duplicate of the other one, the one I'm going to use for low and UV unwrapping. And then what I do, I take this, or take whatever part it is. Right now I'll take the low. I go into shrink wrap, and then I select this, and then I shrink wrap it onto it so it conforms as close as possible. I turn on this and face, and then I go on to random, X-ray, backface culling. You could adjust the X-ray strength, and that way now you could move things around. At least it's like the old way I used to go, or at least another way I go. I usually use Retopo flow because it makes it much easier. I could just show you if it works. Oh, sources are too large. I guess it doesn't want to do it. So another time, I guess. But yeah, if you use Retopo flow, that's another way to go about doing it. So, and then you apply the shrink wrap, and then you do whatever the exporting is, and then you go back to here, find it. And now you're still not really seeing the details from the high onto the low. So do that. You go into here. Didn't mean to do that. You go into texture set settings. You go into bake mesh maps for a test. I'm gonna just select normal. And this is the output size. I'm just gonna do 2048. Select the high. Anti-aliasing tool, or at least that's what I always select. My mesh name, and now there's the suffix again, so anything that has the suffix low and high will match whatever those parts are to each other, so there's no like rays casting on top of each other causing some strange baking issues. In fact, I'll just show what will happen if you do that. If I do this, and there's taking the high and putting onto the low. And as you can see, you got like part of this mesh. I'm gonna make this a little smaller. Part of this onto this, and I'll probably all the other parts have it as well. Yes, and it kind of makes that disgusting muddy look. So, but if you make put it on my mesh name, bake mesh, my mesh name. And then everything is there, and then nothing should be projecting onto each other. You basically got everything here. And this is the low poly, and then the normals are making that look like how it is. I take that off, and there it is. Select it again, and back it is. Now, as you can see, the tail, that didn't do it because it's trying to find things that have the suffix and the name the same. And then I'll show you how to correct that if this so happens to happen. If this happens, go back into here. Let me take this off. Now go on X-ray. I shall select the tail. Select tail high. Turn this off. Tail low. Go here. Just change this to low. And then export it again, FBX, low. And there we go. Now you're probably thinking, it's like, oh, does that mean I'm gonna have to redo this whole baking again? No, or at least it shouldn't. Like, you could bring the thing back in, and as long as the UVs aren't moved into different areas, it should still keep this in the same area. To show you, go into Edit, Project Settings. Oops. Keep everything here the same. Select this. Select low. If this is the one that I made the changes to, I click this. Everything should still look the same. Nothing really different. Everything is in its spot. Go back to Bake Mesh Maps. Sometimes I like to redo this again. Put that there. By mesh name. Bike. Selected it, and there we go. Now everything is there. Now you're probably seeing it like looking a little low res, a little funky. You just make it a bit higher. I still keep the sampling at 2 and bake it again. Looks even better. For VRChat I don't go above to 8K, but if you want to, that's on you. But yeah, and now there it all is. I prefer to use well, for baking I do normal, world space normal. I don't do AO. I keep curvature, position, and thickness, and then I bake that, but I'm not gonna do it. But if this worked, these other ones should work perfectly fine. Thickness is for, or at least I use it for subsurface scattering. So just to have some of the light going to kind of go through the skin and come a little bit back out. So yeah, that's kind of how I set up the file for painting, and then you can just do whatever you want. I don't know, I'll just kind of show you. Slap carbon fiber on it, and again, there you go. It's there, and then there's a cool thing. All these things are procedural, so it's just like, oh no, it's too high or it's too big. That's okay. Let me just go into here and just, there we go. Now, there we go. So everything is changed size. Now, one thing you might notice, or whatever, if you make changes to the UVs, depending on the orientation of these UVs, will determine on how this shows, at least while using UV projection. So if you were to rotate this, or actually, if you were to rotate this piece or this piece of the body and rotate it 45 degrees, then this might look a little bit funky. Now, a way to fix this issue, if you don't want to go back and make adjustments to the UVs, is go triplanar projection. And from what I could tell, or at least the way I interpret triplanar projection, is that it's going by the axes, I think, and projecting it that way, in some way. But the one issue is sometimes on the sides. I don't know if it's showing it that much. It's probably not the best texture to use, but it's okay because I don't like that color. Let's make it a bit brighter. I like this one. Let's make this a little bit brighter too. There we go. Quick, simple, easy. So yeah, let's see if the issue shows. No issue seems to be showing. But sometimes there'll be kind of like a hard looking seam to it. This one doesn't seem to be showing the issue. Oh, there's the hardness. Sometimes there it is. So there you could see. So this is basically trying to blend these areas together. And that's how to fix that little issue, or at least lessen that issue so it's not as prominent. Now for exporting, if you're going to do that, I use, there it all is, have it all selected. It's already selected it, but I'll select it again. PBR metallic roughness, and this is all the stuff that'll come with it. Got the emission, height, normal, metallic, roughness, base color. I don't really have height, so you could turn that off and it'll be fine. You could choose, again, that size resolution. You could choose it here, so you could go all the way from 128 to 8K. And say if you have it here, and right now, what is it resolution? It's 2K, and I could go up to 4K. Doesn't let me go to 8K, but there we go. Now it looks even sharper. But let's say if you have it at 4K and it's going pretty slow and your computer can't handle it, you could go down anytime you want. And then if you want to see how it looks as a preview quickly, you go back up. You can go back and forth. Or I've seen this. I've never clicked on pause engine computation. I generally use this, but I think it'll do the same. But I like to keep it going in real time. So yeah. Go back to here. And then you could choose the bit depth, texture size. You could choose whatever you want it to be, PNG or TIFF, whichever one. I use both of those. And yeah, I think that's how I use everything I'm going to show you on how I use Substance Painter. You could do whatever you want with this. Yeah, I know there's another one. I forgot what it's called. It does the same thing. I don't use that one, but I think, from what I gather, I think Substance Painter, I think Marmoset, 3D Coat, there's that. I can't remember what the other one is. One's used more if you want to go even past 8K and stuff like that. It's been around even longer. But yeah, those are the ones that I could think of that do this type of method. And yeah, there we go. And that's basically how I use Substance Painter, or at least how I set it all up to go.